At the beginning of his rise, Adolf Hitler was just a leader of one of the parties in the Reichstag, or what was considered the German parliament. In January 1933, President Hindenburg reluctantly appointed Hitler as chancellor. Hindenburg was open about not liking Hitler or his policies, but under pressure from conservative elites, he gave in to this pressure and gave him the appointment. At the end of February, tragedy would strike. The Reichstag building would be set on fire. This fire created fear and panic throughout Germany. Hitler would use this as his chance to grab at power. The day after the fire, President Hindenburg would sign an emergency decree suspending the democratic aspects of the Weimar Republic. The president never thought Hitler would use it to his advantage. In March of 1933, Adolf Hitler proposed a new law. He named it the Enabling Law. It would grant him the power to rule by decree. In order to secure its passage, Hitler needed 2/3 of the Reichstag to vote in favor, which he achieved by winning over the DNVP and banning the Communist Party from attending. He also recognized the crucial need for the Center Party's vote. For them, he promised to safeguard the interests of the Catholic Church. This left only the SPD as opposed. In the month leading up to the vote, the SA and SS employed violence and intimidation tactics, even imprisoning some dissenters in the newly opened Dachau concentration camp. On March 24th, the law was passed by a large majority, with 444 votes in favor and only 94 against. Hitler could now govern by decree as chancellor. This crucial victory marked the beginning of a new era. The passage of the Enabling Law allowed Hitler to establish a totalitarian regime, leading to the systematic dismantling of democratic rights and the rise of oppressive governance. During the initial rise of the Nazi Party, they were backed by a group called the SA, or otherwise known as the Sturmabteilung, or the Brown Shirts. By June 1934, the SA had grown to be over 3 million strong. They were often given a free rein, with most becoming violent and difficult to control. After Hitler was elected chancellor, Röhm, the leader of the SA, wanted to continue to replace the traditional conservative elites with Nazi loyalists. Hitler and the rest of the Nazi leadership disagreed. They felt they needed to appear moderate so they could slowly take over by whatever democratic means they could. Hitler wanted to maintain stability and keep up the illusion of a democracy. Tensions between the SA and the Nazis grew, as Hitler feared that the SA were becoming too powerful to be controlled. His fear was only worsened by both Göring and Himmler, who relayed news of Röhm organizing a potential coup against him. On June 30th, 1934, these tensions hit their peak. All of the leaders of the SA were ordered to a meeting where Hitler personally placed Röhm and the other SA leaders under arrest. Over the next 2 days, most of the SA leadership were arrested and killed. Röhm was given the choice to either take his own life or be shot. He refused and was shot by 2 SS guards on July 1st, 1934. Following the attack, Goebbels created the propaganda story that was given to the media. He presented it as a preventative measure, in response to the SA's plan to overthrow the government. Since the people already knew the SA were violent and unruly, many saw this as a legitimate move by the government to ensure public safety. These 3 days became known as the Night of Long Knives, or the Röhm Putsch. Just a few weeks later, on July 13th, the Reichstag retrospectively approved a bill legalizing the purge as an emergency defense measure. In August of 1934, President Hindenburg died at the age of 87, shortly after Hitler would announce that offices of the Chancellor and the President would to be combined to create one position, the Führer. That same month, the German people were asked to vote on the combining of these two roles. The vast majority, at almost 84%, voted in favor. With the enabling law in place and Hitler in place as Führer, there was no one to stop him. From this point on, he now held the power of a dictator. The Night of the Long Knives, combined with the death of President Hindenburg just a few months later, helped Hitler to consolidate absolute power in Germany by removing all of their political opposition. The next step for Adolf Hitler and his party was the Nazification of Germany. They started by applying Gleichschaltung across every possible aspect of government policy. In April of 1933, they started to put their plan into action by issuing the Act for the Restoration of the Professional Civil Service. This act legalized removing anyone of non-Aryan descent from any civil service position, as well as removing any judges deemed non-compliant with Nazi laws or principles from the judicial system. That same month, the Nazis created the People's Court, which they would use to replace their Supreme Court. All of the judges placed on this court were chosen specifically for their Nazi beliefs. With these changes in place, the Nazification of the judicial system was complete. They would reinforce this again in 1937 by the German Civil Service Code, which retired any judges or judicial officials who would not intervene in cases and rule in favor of the Nazis. Once they had control of the higher levels of government and the justice system, the next goal was to take control of the cultural mindset. In March of 1933, Joseph Goebbels was appointed as Minister for Public Engagement and Propaganda. His job was controlling the national media, film, theater, arts, and other cultural aspects, which he did successfully by rationalizing the things that would be considered unthinkable before the Nazis took over. By the end of 1934, the Nazis had managed to infiltrate and take control of every major aspect of German government, except the local governments. Even by the end of the war in 1945, only about 60% had mayors who were party members. The consequences of the Nazi regime's control would resonate long after the war, impacting Germany's political landscape for decades to come. This dark chapter in history serves as a reminder of the dangers posed by totalitarian regimes and the importance of preserving democratic values.